Ladies and gentlemen, the Solana ecosystem call. Tonight, Toli, Mert, Marinade, Cube Exchange, Ultimate Wallet, The Heist, and more. With your host, Kash Donda.
Oh, please, everybody, hold your applause. Please, you're really too kind. Please don't need to go so loud. It's all right. Oh, and we don't need to play that again. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming out. Thank you for the warm welcome. If it is your first time here, let me tell you what this call is all about. Every month, on the first Thursday of the month, we try to bring together the best builders in the ecosystem to share the updates, because crypto can be a crazy place. You might have noticed, right? Meme coins come and meme coins go. Regulation is always starting and going. People are taking way too much leverage and buying mega mansions all over the world, so on and so forth. But through all the noise, there's one thing that shines through, and that are the actual builders. Those are the actual builders of Solana, because we are here in the bear market, folks. The tourists are gone. It is now really just the community of builders that really just create the vibes, create the energy, and create the attention in the Solana land. And that's what this call is all about. So we are not going to mention token price here. We are not going to mention anything around investments or financial speculation. This is about seeing what people are building and how much adoption it is getting. Can I get a little amen in the chat for the builders over everything else? Yeah, there we go. Amen to that. All right. So if you've not come to this before, there's some things to know about how this is going to work. First, this is only as fun as the chat is. The chat is where all the action is. So please get active in the chat. Drop in some jokes, drop in some memes, drop in a little W here and there. Number two, you can ask questions and get answers from people on the panel as well. You will see that over there in the Q&A section of your little Zoom bar. So if you just ask questions, the various panelists will be here to answer those questions as well. And number three, make sure you stay until the end, because we have a bunch of good stuff coming. There's a Breakpoint ticket giveaway. We got earning opportunities. There might be an NFT giveaway. There might be early access. And there's definitely a POAP coming at the end. I can promise you that much. So there is a bunch of stuff happening. Make sure you stay all the way. Here's roughly how we're going to go. There is going to indeed be a SOAP at the very end. This will be the rough structure. Might change it up a little bit. We keep it loose. We keep it fun out here. So let's start off with one of the best parts of this whole thing, which is the wins of the month. And spoiler alert, there were plenty. Win number one, or I should say the first section we're going to cover, is on some teams that are doing numbers. The W's are already flowing in the chat. We haven't even said what the numbers are that people are doing. Here's a big one. Let's start with this. Matrika powered the Web3 ticketing at Tomorrowland, one of the biggest music festivals in the world. They are leaning really heavily into NFTs. People who collect different NFTs can then get early access to tickets the next year and other perks. And that is all being powered by Solana NFTs, because 400,000 NFTs on other chains is a little expensive. So W, I don't even need to ask for a W. Big W's in the chat right now for the folks out at Matrika for helping bring Solana to the world. This is more of what we need, folks. Not just about going after the same crypto users we already have, but making technology that people use without even really noticing it. It's invisible in the background. That's the good stuff. This one is a little bit more visible. Big shout out to our friends, Richard and Omoy, previous guests on the call. Tensor crossed 5 million SOL in all-time volume in the midst of a bear market. And I think they've only been around for, I don't even know how many months at this point. Not too many. So Tensor are the goats, as I'm seeing in the chat. What bear, says Shrejani? That's right. They've evolved into 11 SOR, said Mert. That's quite good. That's quite good. So big shout out to them. And then finally, on the doing numbers side of things, the boys and girls over at MarginFi have crossed 20 million in global TVL. Their point scheme working great, bringing a little bit of a resurgence and energy back to the Solana DeFi scene. If you don't follow them on Twitter, they have very spicy takes. So, that's also tasty. And they're waging war with half the ecosystem at times. But we like to see people build good things and contribute to the energy in the ecosystem. So shout out to all of those folks. Next set of wins over here. We're talking shipments, and people were busy shipping this month on Solana. The first one is the biggest one. I'm sure people have seen this, but if you haven't, you got to drop a W for this. Sollang has officially been released. Now, any dev who knows Solidity can start to build Solana programs using this new compiler. Big shout out to the Solana Labs team. I think I know the guy who runs Solana Labs. I'm not sure. He might be on the call later today. Let's find out. But the floodgates of new devs are going to be open very soon. So shout out to all the developers. If you know a dev who knows a little bit of Solidity, now is the time to bring them over. As Danny's saying in the chat, you don't have an excuse not to build on Solana anymore. Let's keep on going. The next big win here, Layer 3 is now live on Solana. People might not know Layer 3. They do quests. I think that they are the biggest quest platform in crypto. And it's one of the best crypto products I have personally used. Big fan of their product thinking. They have hundreds of thousands of users who are completing these quests to learn about new protocols and dApps. And now Solana is live as well. All of those folks exploring EVM land are now going to be exploring Solana land as well. Big shout out to Brandon Kumar, my boy, man with a great haircut and a great company. Big shout out and W's over there. Next up, people shipping. Meteora is now supporting dynamic LSD pools. This is some big brain stuff, but fortunately for you, they just ran a deep dive bounty and they have a lot of writing about this. You can find it on earn.superteam.fun or on their site. Big stuff happening here. I'm in a group called Smart DeFi Maximalists, and people were pretty excited about this. So shout out to that group and shout out to Ben and the team. We're still going, Jesus. The next win here, we got another validator client. Now, if I'm not mistaken, most chains don't have too many. And we now have a new one written in an entirely new language. This is going to do two things. Number one, more client diversity means less likely that there are network downtimes or other major issues, because it's unlikely that the same bug is in all of these different validator clients, which is great. Number two, it is just awesome to see all of the attention and energy coming to the Solana validator scene. I gotta say, it makes me excited to see so many top-level teams working on things that improve the infrastructure. The people at Labs, they're doing God's work. They do a great job. But in order to succeed long-term, we're gonna need those other community members to step up, and that is exactly what is happening, and you love to see it. WSIG validator in the chat, I loved it. Next up, going back to DeFi, Drift has now let anybody market make with their new DLP scheme. $5 million in 4 days is up over there. Such a big W, says Jay in the chat there. Drop a little WCMs here as well. Love to see that. Drift doing great work. Speaking of great work, Ellipsis Labs, former ecosystem call guests, I might add, have shipped verified builds. Drop a W for transparency and understanding that the code that is running on chain is actually the published source code as well, helping instill trust in our ecosystem, which is critical. We've been seeing, some shenanigans elsewhere. Love to see this. Big shout out to the boys and girls over at Ellipsis Labs. Gigacash in the chat. All right. W Transparency, says Jimmy, and he is right. Number 10, Code Wallet is now live. If you haven't tried this, Mert, if I'm not mistaken, was it Code Wallet that inspired the phrase only possible on Solana? I think that might be true. Correct, says Murdermiss Prime. So if you haven't tried it out yet, it is a bit of a magical experience. I think they're only using Kin right now, but hopefully we'll add some more things over time, and that's going to be great. So big shout out to them. Miltron saying only possible on Solana, baby. That is right. And then I think the last one on the shipment side is Credix has unveiled a fully insured USDC pool, so investors can now get more benefits and help support financial inclusion in Colombia. Personally, I'm giga bullish on real world assets. I think that they're going to be a big deal. Classic use case of crypto. Credix is a great team, former guest of the ecosystem call as well. And they're building new products and reaching new audiences, which is great. Only possible on Solana, RWA baby. Thomas is bullish on Thomas in the chat as well. Pretty great stuff. All right, that takes us to our last section, which are the community wins. And oh boy, are there some community wins here. The first community win, PlayGG, was a hit. I'm not sure if everyone around the world knows this, because I know we have a very international audience right now. There was a conference just for Solana games in San Diego, beautiful San Diego. If I'm not mistaken, pretty close to Solana Beach, which is where the name Solana comes from, potentially as well. 50 plus games came out there, tons of attention and energy. I think that went super well. So shout out to Ellie and the rest of the events team. W's in the chat already there. And then if you like games, definitely encourage you to check out the speed run contestants over on cubic.so/projects. This was a community organized hackathon for games. Big shout out to Lamport, to Magic Block, and Cubic. The chat going wild with W's right now, as well as it should be. Go check out some of those games. If you want to stick around after this call, we might try some of those too. Speaking of hackathons, another fantastic community run hackathon is starting OPOS, only possible on Solana. We're going to hear more about that directly from Mert in a second. Can I get a little OPOS in the chat, please? Can I get a little only possible on Solana? A whole suite of use cases coming through here. Very excited about what's going to come out here. $100,000 in prizes, including a super team prize, along with many others. So shout out to Mert and Irfan and everyone else. And then finally, the last community win of the week before I lose my voice. We got some new super teams, folks. So big shout out to Zubi out in Nigeria. We have Alex Scott in the UAE, and we have Israel, Adam, and Joseph, and the rest of the team as well. I think they're in the chat. If you are in any of these 3 countries, or you have friends that are in those countries, do reach out, get involved. Super teams are taking over the globe. Don't take it from me. Take it from DJ Khaled himself over here. Super team going worldwide. That is right. All right, folks, I think that is it for the wins of the month. There were a lot. What did we miss? Anything in the chat that we missed as other wins in the ecosystem to shout out? Go ahead and pop that into the chat. We missed Mallow. Mallow did launch a new one-of-one art exchange, if I'm not mistaken. Tamar is saying I missed out on the win of Chase Ken, which is true. Let me see if I can pull that up. I don't know if I can pull that up fast enough. If somebody can put that in, that'd be great. Chase Barker now looks like Ken the doll, which is great. The Soul Blaze Moonshot, love Soul Blaze. Shout out to them. The Klano Saga Mint is complete as well. God, it's hard, as you can tell, it's hard to keep up with all of the wins that are happening on Solana here. Too much stuff. The Ultimate DApp browser, that's such a big win. We're actually going to be talking about that with Ultimate in just a little second. Okay, and then Holoplex, the easiest way to use compression on Solana. That's right. The hub, if I'm not mistaken, is out there. So go check out hub.holoplex if you want to do some no-code building with NFTs. A lot of member perks. Okay, cool. This is, and the Bonk game, if you haven't tried out Silicon Valley Bonk, you should try it out. It's a lot of fun. I think it launched the day after the month ended, so it's going to be in the next one if it's not in this one here. All right, folks, that is going to do it for the wins of the month. Let's move over to the state of Solana. This is a section where we try to give some indications of big stats that are happening across the ecosystem. Here are some big numbers for us to take a look at real fast. One thing to shout out, total value locked, TVL, the dominant metric that people use to look at DeFi activity, has gone up 13% month over month, in large part to our friends at Margin and Soulblaze and Cypher and everyone else who's doing some great work there. I will say it's lovely to see this number go back up. I think the homie Vibu had a great point on the Lightspeed podcast that if you haven't listened yet, go check that out, where he talked about TVL being just one metric that matters, not the only one. That said, we like to see it go up anyway. It's still always nice to see. You will see the non-voting transactions are down month over month, which is kind of interesting. Be known, this is not meant to be Solana propaganda. We're going to bring you the facts, whatever they might be. And in this case, a little bit less activity this month on chain, but there are more active wallets this month versus last month on chain. So more people may be doing slightly less. We're still trying to figure out where that might all be. Where's the deli? True TPS here at 350. Total stakers, this was the first time I saw this number. Almost 600,000 wallets are staking, which is crazy. Sounds pretty decentralized. And you look at the validators, 1877, 3% month over month. Pretty good, I must say. And Parag just published a new study. He said that the vibes are up 100%, which is pretty great. So I think that's right. Okay, then with all of these stats out of the way, there's one other major area that I wanted to showcase on this call here. If you were on the last ecosystem call, you would have seen Mr. Raj Gokul, co-founder of Solana, come up and talk about the importance of liquid staking derivatives, getting more people to stake on the network. That helps improve the security of the network and the decentralization of it. Today, I wanted to bring in, seeing the chat said, can Raj adopt me? Maybe. Today, what I want to talk about is the state of liquid staking on Solana, and who better to talk about this than the OGs of staking on Solana, our dear friends over at Marinade. Drop a little GM in the chat for Mr. Brandon Tucker from Marinade, who's going to tell us a little bit about liquid staking on Solana. Brandon, are you there?
Yeah. That's some serious Miami vibes there on that.
Look good in the suit, my friend. I got to say, you got to wear more linen. That's my one piece of advice here.
Wow. Well, thanks for having me. It's really an honor to be on the super team call. You guys are killing it. And it's great to be representing Marinade, and it's great to see all this new activity and discussion around liquid staking, because it's pretty important, and it's nice to see that it's going up. Just some quick background on Marinade in case some of y'all don't know. We just celebrated our 2-year anniversary yesterday. So it's been quite a wild ride at Marinade. Starting from the hackathon in 2021. Marinade is really a community success story. It was founded by 2 teams at the Solana hackathon and launched with just an $80,000 grant. So, no big investment. We've just been chugging along as a community project. And kind of keep that in mind when you hear people talking about Solana being like a VC chain, kind of flooding the Samcoin narrative. I mean, not all teams are like that at all. And Marinade's a great example of that. And just to kind of some TLDR of liquid staking, just for anyone who doesn't know, liquid staking enables you to stake SOL, but receive a collateral token in return that you can use in DeFi, and your stake is still growing. So you can borrow against it, supply liquidity, and a whole lot more. It really shows the composability of Solana using liquid staking tokens. And they're also rewards bearing. We get a lot of people saying like, how do my rewards come in with liquid staking? But you're actually, the price of liquid staking tokens go up each epoch versus SOL. You're not getting them sent to your wallet every epoch. So when you unstake or when you trade it for SOL, you're getting your rewards then. So something to keep in mind as you look into liquid staking. So, the state of liquid staking right now, I think, only 3% of stake is liquid right now on Solana. I think there's a few reasons for that. There's a lot of early investors who have locked Solana, and they're not even eligible for it. So that's around 60 million SOL right there. But then also just Marinade's growth teams, we're always talking to investors, and a lot of them are kind of hesitating because they're not sure about DeFi quite yet. They don't really understand smart contracts. But it's important to remember, like throughout 2022, like the lend borrow on Solana really wasn't very robust. It's coming back now, and I think that's why liquid staking tokens are really starting to pick up again, because lend to borrow is really the cornerstone of what you do with a lot of these strategies. Is you're depositing your liquid staking tokens, you're borrowing, and you're going to get additional opportunities that way. So, and another thing too, the quick unbonding periods. It's almost like Solana is too fast right now to really be prosperous as a liquid staking network compared to Ethereum, just because it is very, very easy to get in and out of native stake. So that's something that we want to maybe look at too. And also just unstaking liquidity keeps improving right now. So, you mentioned the Meteor updates with the liquid staking dynamic pools. Right now, you can unstake native or liquid staking tokens very easily, instantly, for almost no fees. You can do that at Marinade. You can do that at other places around the network. So it's very easy to get in and out of stake, whether it's liquid or native. And I think that's I wanted to mention the Marinade native product that we launched last month too, because it's using the same stake pool dynamic as Marinade does. So there you go. There's my meme I posted. So Marinade native, what we're doing is we're giving you a chance to use Marinade stake pool, which delegates to 100 of the kind of top performing decentralized validators on Solana. But native doesn't have that smart contract exposure. You're just giving Marinade the stake authority like any other native stake. And then this meme is kind of the way I look at it. I want to get some of these native stakers who are staking to the super minority or staking to these 100% commission validators, get them thinking about stake pools in the native way. And then as DeFi continues its resurgence, through all these lend borrow platforms and all these new integrations, it can just be a little easier stepping stone into liquid staking and really growing that TVL, because I think, as we mentioned, TVL can improve on Solana, and I think liquid staking tokens is really one of the best ways to improve the TVL. So I guess lastly, I'll just mention, request to all your favorite protocols on Solana. Like, how can you integrate liquid staking tokens? I want to see liquid staking tokens on your marketplace. I want to see it in your AMMs, because it's good for them, because they're getting yield. It's good for you because you're getting yield through it, and it's also great for the network because these liquid staking protocols are spreading the stake around to a lot of validators, not just the super minority. So it's making the Nakamoto coefficient higher in the process. So that's kind of the TLDR. I'm always happy to see more and more integrations. I want to shout out Dual Finance, that they were the latest MSOL integration this week, bringing covered calls back to liquid staking tokens. So shout out to y'all. And lastly, just stay tuned for a Super Team Bounty. So I hope you guys were taking notes because we're going to do one very soon. So thanks for having me on.
The best kind of tease. Thank you very much, Brandon. Drop a little W in the chat for Brandon and the folks at Marinade. You heard this is a great insight. Honestly, I didn't know this until Brandon would send over the content for the slide of why our adoption is so low. But that is the kind of thing that we can change. It's good for you. It's good for the ecosystem. Just do it. And Marinade Native is sick to help it improve the decentralization, increase that Nakamoto coefficient even further. So big shout out to the folks over there. Let's say you want to meet Brandon in person. He's a lovely guy. He's like 7'4". You'll have a great time when you see him. You would want to come to the one and only Breakpoint conference happening in Amsterdam. I believe November 1st or October 31st is when it starts. Definitely come out to this. Here's how you do it. We're giving away a free ticket. Make sure you stay until the end, folks. You'll get a POAP or a SOAP at the end of this call, a SOAP. You got to tweet a screenshot of that POAP in your wallet and tag Jonas X Chen. He is the founder and leader of Metacamp, which is a community based in Singapore that pushes Solana forward and does great work. Tell him why you want to go to Breakpoint, and you might be the lucky winner. We've had a few winners. It does not include a free airplane ticket as well, Peter, unfortunately. But it does include a ticket, and the ticket is worth about $1,000. So that's a pretty good life. Sorry, indeed, Peter. Okay, next up we have, I think, in many ways, one of the brightest stars in the Solana ecosystem. Not terribly surprising. He's a man who doesn't really need an introduction from me, and so I am not going to give him an introduction. I will let the internet introduce.
CEO, the smartest one, born in 1981, Anatoly Yakovenko. CEO, the coolest one, born in 1981, Anatoly Yakovenko. Come on, Toly, you can do it. Pave the way, put your brains into it. Tell us why, show us how. Look at where you came from, look at you now.
Look at you now here on the ecosystem call. Drop a little Toly in the chat for the one and the only, the co-founder of Solana itself, Mr. Anatoly. How you doing, Toly?
Doing great. How are you guys?
Well, we're very excited to have you here, my friend. I must say, I know you're on the West Coast right now. It's like 6 a.m. for you?
Yeah, a little early, but it's okay.
A little early. Commitment to the cause, my friend. I appreciate that. Toly Stark, people are saying in the chat out here. And if I'm not mistaken today, Toly, you've come to talk to the community a little bit about perhaps a technical wish list and some things you'd like to see people pick up in the community as some challenges.
Yeah, I love getting deep on technical details, so this should be fun.
It's about to, the level of technical gibberish in here is about to increase by about 100% in a way that I think everyone's going to very much appreciate. So yeah, tell us what is on your mind. I can take some notes here as well, live as we go. Please do not make fun of my spelling. I grew up with autocorrect. But yeah, what do you think we need to see more of from the community here?
I think there's like a couple efforts that are really important that are happening. One is, I think, increasing the kind of like the number of tooling that's available on the network. And this is improving Anchor and like things like Solang. So whatever your passion is, if you're really interested in like Rust frameworks or programming environments, there's a ton of work to be done there that doesn't require 7 years of distributed systems experience and like a full-time 1 year of effort to get going. So tooling, I think, is really, really important for devs. A lot of really good devs can overcome those challenges because they have the experience to be able to build whatever they need on their own. But these become these speed bumps that really slow down overall ecosystem developers when like somebody that's casual is trying out an idea and wants to build something and they get stuck and they're stuck for more than like 3-4 hours. They might just give up and never come back. So we need to kind of like have as many eyes on just improving things and like making it easier. There's a lot of work that's being done there, but I think you see people complain about the stuff on Twitter and or X or whatever, and it's important to actually keep that in mind. And some new tools that are coming online, like Solang. If you're a Solidity dev, go try it out. There's a it's new, so there's going to be a bunch of missing components and missing parts, and give us feedback on what would improve there.
So when you're saying just feedback on what is missing, are there other ways that people can contribute, whether it's documentation, tutorials, or things of that nature? Or is it mostly just giving feedback at this stage?
Documentation would be awesome. Tutorials are awesome. Actual integrated into like Truffle or whatever, that would be really, really good. So yeah. Whatever it is that you think you're an expert in, that would be really good for folks to help.
Fantastic. Well, if you want to do some of this and you would like to get a grant, you can come to Superteam. If you go to earn.superteam.fun, we have the Glass Chewers grant specifically for folks to help improve dev tooling in the ecosystem. And there's clearly plenty of opportunity here. Did you have other things on your mind as well, Tully?
Yeah, there's like, what am I focused on? So there's, if you're into RPCs and things like that, I think this is what I'm poking around like right now, is I think there's a lot of latency that could be improved by always knowing where the next leader is, and like actually optimizing that path. So I know RPC providers love optimizing like queries per second and reads and like making sure that infra is awesome. I would wish that they spend as much time actually trying to dig through our code and figure out where the latencies and the writes are coming in, and optimize those out. I don't know if we need like a ton of people looking at this, but like if you're that like, if you know who you are, if you're that like superstar that really loves those kinds of things, just reach out to me. I can get you started and show you where I think the bottlenecks are. But this needs like, testing and measurement and production. And it's hard to do kind of like from labs, because we don't have a lot of like, customers that are using the infra directly. But if you go like, if you ever played with Break and run it in debug mode, you can literally see that at about half of the latency is just because that particular packet missed the leader and ended up somewhere else, and then eventually got enqueued. So that would be, I think, a really, really nice improvement on the user experience if all your transactions were confirmed, in sub 1 second.
Interestingly, I know one or two guys who are working on that problem. Actually, they might be able to help. That'd be very cool. Yeah, excellent. Was there a third thing on your technical gibberish?
I got a huge list.
Keep it coming, then, buddy. Keep it coming. Yeah. This is why the folks are here.
So I think the next kind of, these are much longer efforts, but things that are kind of annoying that I'm pushing folks at labs to fix is that we have fixed base fees. That's not a problem right now, but it is a problem when the price of SOL fluctuates a lot. And a lot of like, not everyone, but like a lot of services don't actually price it in dollars internally, where they're submitting and they see Solana as an infra cost. And if the base fee arbitrarily goes up simply because they're creating the success here and increasing their own costs, it's kind of problematic. So I think we need to implement and run a couple different experiments. One would be like a 1559 style base fee, where it starts at basically one Lamport and can dynamically go up if there's demand and things like that. I think the biggest thing that I would say about that problem is that we should come into it with an open mind and actually try a couple different experiments, and not just copy Ethereum and think that's going to work in this environment, because I'm not 100% sure it's the best solution. So it's worth like actually coming up with a couple different solutions and like really thinking through that. And this is more of a R&D research problem. Similarly, the fees for state rent. We've actually run internal tests where we've had Solana cluster run with 10 billion accounts.
Okay. Seems like a lot of accounts.
Yeah, and it's running under like steady state is under 32 gigabytes of RAM. So all the on-disk caching and indexing, all this stuff is working. That's pretty cool. So the question is that, like, how do we give control to validators to increase the state size, and how do we dynamically price the state? That's kind of a problem that I think requires some research too. That's like these are longer time frame problems. The third thing that I've been kicking around is the Apex B. That's a design to separate leaders and builders or block producers, whatever you want to call them. It's a SIMD out on the Solana Foundation repo. Folks should go take a look at it and comment and try to think through it. And the idea there is that if we can separate the leader from the block producer, we could do really fancy things like have multiple builders at the same time. So you as a user, you can send your transaction to the closest one. So that cuts your latency down by 50% if there's two, by 75% if there's four of them. That's pretty nice. The other part of that is that you actually get more bandwidth for the network to process transactions. I think actually creating the block and packing them, that takes more resources than verifying. So if that makes sense, because you get this flood of requests, most of them duplicates, most of them can't fit in the block because they're all trying to mint the same NFT. And the block producer has to be over allocated to have more capacity so they can filter all these and find the highest priority ones. So that actually creates this asymmetric resource problem where you create the block, it takes more resources than to verify it. So adding more block producers means we can actually increase the bandwidth on the network, and that's pretty cool. So, like, again, go look at the SIMD, try to think through it, see if there's any bugs or any obvious gotchas. So stuff like that.
Fantastic. Well, totally. I think we can all agree that I understood all of that and already knew most of it as well, in fact. But I do very much appreciate these wish list problems coming out here. I think there's clearly some people in the chat who I hope are going to be inspired to go and research and check these out. And more broadly, you mentioned the SIMD process. I think that more folks could probably get involved there, going to some of the core dev calls, or at the very least checking out the forums and getting more involved in some of the deep level infrastructure that's happening here. Let's see. And then we have one final question, actually, in the chat here for you, Toly. Are you coming to the Berlin Hacker House? Or the hacker houses? Let's put up either one of those.
I don't know. I'm probably not traveling much. As some of you have seen on Twitter, I just had my third child, so I am very busy right now.
Congratulations as well. Drop a W in the chat for the third child. Do you find it easier the third time, or is it just as hard?
Transition from 2 to 3 is easier because you've already given up your life from the 1 to 2 transition.
The man is raising a family. The man is shepherding an entire ecosystem forward, and he still finds time to come on to the ecosystem call and do some some technical gibberish at 6 in the morning.
Love it, community gibberish.
I do community gibberish. You do technical gibberish. I think that's the breakdown here. Well, Toly, for the sake of time, we're gonna keep on going here. But again, appreciate you coming out. And if you are watching this right now, this is not just an academic exercise. The hope is that you take action, get involved either with these problems or others that are in the ecosystem. Can you drop a little thanks for Toly for coming out? He's staying away from his 3 children to come out and talk to us, folks. Drop a little thanks in the chat. Appreciate you, Toly. We will catch you very soon. All right. We'll continue on here. Next up, we have somebody who actually does a little work on the RPC side. He's the host of the best kind of podcast in the ecosystem right now. Lightspeed has got the best beard in the ecosystem. He looks great with bracelets over here. And this time, he was not too busy texting on Threads or posting on Threads to make the call. Please drop a little Mert in the chat for the one, the only Mertimus Prime. Mert, how you doing, brother?
Hello, sir. Good to be here.
Good to have you back. And I don't know where you find the time to sleep, quite honestly, as we've talked about offline before, between the podcast, between Helios, between running Solana Twitter, and now producing the largest community hackathon, I think, that we've seen yet, the OPOS hackathon. What can you tell the people about OPOS, Mert?
Yeah, so I actually have some tips that I saw from previous hackathons that I'd like people to hopefully take away from this. First, I want to do two things. First of all, thank you to Totally for totally chirping the RPCs. And number two, I always want to do this, Cash. Sorry. Can I get an OPOS on the chat just to see who's excited about the hackathon? All right. Woo.
That's more than a few, I would say. We're gonna bust the Zoom chat over here right now. If you're watching on Twitter, by the way, come join us in Zoom and see all the fun for yourself. Oof,
That's
racing.
fun.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to give 3 tips today. Super short. And hopefully people take something away from it. If not, just shoot me a DM or shit post on Twitter, and I'll be around to catch any bird app posts. Okay. So the number one tip that I want to give, and these aren't in order, is building and writing code is the least important part of a hackathon. Okay, so I would say, like, a lot of people get this wrong. I would say the most important part by far is talking to your users and your market, your target market, and understanding their problems, right? Whether your market is developers, traders, gamblers, NFT degens, collectors, you want to make sure you understand their problems, right? So in the past, what everybody does is essentially, like, everybody designs a key and then goes door to door and tries to open each door. But what you really want to do is you want to go door to door, understand how the locks work, and then design a key to open all those locks. Okay. So work backwards from your user and your market. And then, design like a Figma file, or even on paper, just iterate on paper first, right? Writing code is the easy part. Just the point of a hackathon is understanding problems and building a proof of concept to address those problems. And if it's an important problem, VCs will be interested in. So like public quadratic funding stuff like Cubic and stuff, people will support you. Mm-hmm. So that's number one. On the other end of this, what you do after building, do not forget marketing, messaging, or distribution, please. Okay. Solana has a very rampant problem of, well, not like Solana Labs, but the ecosystem. People are just like kind of allergic to marketing, it seems. But like, once you build something, if you believe in what you built, you almost have like an obligation to make sure people hear about it so that they get value out of your effort, right? And marketing doesn't mean advertising. Like, it doesn't mean putting like a $5 Facebook ad saying like buy now, or like you'll die tomorrow or something, right? Marketing is about communicating, what you stand for to your target audience and your target users, so that they know that, okay, it's company X, I know what they stand for, I now understand what I need to make a purchase or maybe use their tool. So that's number two. And then number three, and probably the most important, as the name suggests, try to build things that are only possible on Solana. So what's cool about this is that Solana has a bunch of interesting infrastructure primitives like compression, and even like some things built on top of that, like XNFTs, order books, etc. So as a team, you actually have a moat for now by just being on this chain versus other chains, right? Mm-hmm. And okay, so what do we do? Well, if you want to maximize your probability of success, you want to build things that are only possible on Solana. Okay, so what are these things? So number one, I would say is compression is very important. Compression doesn't just mean NFT compression, by the way. Compression is a primitive that applies to any account on Solana. So it's called state compression. And for the hackathon, there's actually a prize pool of 25,000 USDC, which is not a small amount.
What?
And you also have a lot of resources like, Holoplex, Phantom, Solana Foundation, myself, a lot of people to ask questions to. So I would seriously encourage people to build something using compression. Helium, Crossmint, Dialect, Drip, TipLink. A lot of teams are already using it. Something else that's mostly possible on Solana is order books. So Phoenix has a track worth about $8,000, I believe. So just by integrating with Phoenix and their order book, maybe adding liquidity to it via an AMM, you could get $8,000, right? And I think that's pretty fun. Like I would kill for that opportunity. And then there's some pretty cool things too. Like if you build an X NFT, you might actually win a Mad Lad, which is pretty cool. And there's a flip side, live query. If you're not an engineer, but you're like data, you're a data analyzer, right? You can go on Flipside and use their new live query product and make API calls within your SQL calls, and just generate some pretty cool insights. So I'll recap again. Make sure you talk to your users. Do not neglect marketing and build things that are only possible on Solana.
Fantastic, Mert. Thank you for coming through, dropping that alpha. As you were talking here, I think some minds were blown. Also, some requests for Beard DAO, maybe at some point in the near future. I don't know. We'll see. Or just Bald DAO. There's a lot of requests for Mert DAOs in general. I think that's a hot category. I'd be buying stock in Mert DAOs. I'd also be buying stock in Only Possible in Solana as a hackathon. I will be willing to bet that the next crop of the great Solana projects are going to be born during this, just like we saw some great projects coming out of Sandstorm. So thank you, Mert, as well as the rest of the Lamport team for helping to organize this. Shout out to all the sponsors. Please do get involved. It is oposhackathon.com, if I'm not mistaken. Go check that out. All right, next up, I know we're running a little bit behind time, but we just got to do this every time, right? This is some great kind of giga brain content that's happening, but we also got to warm up the hearts. It's not just about the brain. And what I want to do next is a little Twitter raid. This is one of my favorite parts of the call every time, or Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it these days. If you can, take a little, scan this QR code on your phone and follow I Love Spectra, who's building the first ever open world metaverse RPG on Solana, and just write probably something on the reply. With that said, we're going to move over and we're going to move into the lightning fast, quick updates from the different projects. The first project we have is one of the most hyped, I think, in the ecosystem right now, and for good reason. The man behind it, the co-founder and CEO, helped build many of the pieces of infrastructure that we use every day. He dresses like a fashion model. There's no other way to put it. You would have seen him in some Versace or something else. Please drop a little cube in the chat for the founder and CEO of the Cube Exchange, Mr. Bartosz himself. Bartosz, how are you doing? Let's see. Oh, there he is. He's got to come back on stage. So I'll continue to compliment him in the meantime. One of the best devs around. He's going to be here to show us an exclusive sneak peek of the exchange that everyone is talking about and everyone wants to check out. Bartosz, are you with us now on stage, my friend?
Hey, yes, I am. Sorry about that.
No problem at all. Thanks for coming out, my guy.
Yeah, so the demo will be tricky, but I can talk about, I guess, what Cube is, just because of the driving. Unexpectedly, I needed to drop off my son at school. So apologies about that. Yeah, so for everyone on the call, I guess, that didn't follow Cube Twitter account or didn't see some of the things that I have been posting on Twitter, Cube is this hybrid crypto exchange that we are building on top of Solana Validator Client. I'm very excited about it. And the primary reason for that is we wanted to basically change the paradigm around centralized exchanges a bit. So it's not your standard DEX that you would see. And the primary reason behind this is I wanted to make sure that people can actually trade spot assets in a like non-custodial, decentralized way on the chains where the assets were issued. So think about like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple. It's pretty tricky to trade them on like normal DEX on Solana because you need to bridge them, and some people don't like bridges. So what we're doing with Cube instead is giving everyone for free an MPC wallet that's run by the same validator set that the app chain is running, and allows you to effectively hold in a non-custodial way assets across multiple chains and use them later in the DeFi as well.
Incredible. I think that, yeah, as you were telling me about this the other day, my mind was just blown by this idea that there's full control by the user. And there's, if I'm not mistaken, nothing really the Cube can do to access those assets. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And
So-
that's native Bitcoin that you're able to buy, native Ethereum, nothing wrapped, nothing bridged. It is just yours, a fully bare asset, right?
Yes.
Can you tell the people a little bit about the speed? Because I think the speed of Cube is one of the most interesting things to me as well.
Yeah, so for people that don't know me, I came from traditional finance in a kind of unexpected way to crypto. And the first thing that I noticed is like most of the crypto exchanges, like centralized ones even, are kind of far off from where like traditional finance is in terms of the speed. So when we started building Cube, we wanted to make sure that you could actually compete with like venues like CME or NASDAQ in terms of the speed. So we built a lot of pieces from ground up with Larry, CTO, and focused on making sure that you can actually trade at like microsecond speeds with like certain guarantees.
For people who are not clear on how time works when it gets that fast, which included me before I talked to Bartosz, anything under 200 milliseconds is basically feels instant to the human eye. Binance right now will complete a trade in about 8 milliseconds, so it feels instant. Bartosz is saying here that you guys are measuring your time in microseconds, which is even smaller than milliseconds. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. And like a lot of people, like when they first hear it, like, you know, they don't believe it, because like almost every single exchange in crypto will say, hey, we are like the fastest, the safest venue out there. And it's very tricky to compete on just words or just marketing. So I'm excited for people to try it. We actually started working with a few like market makers. So if you're a market maker on the call, if you are interested in like participating in market making, if you are not in US, happy to talk. Yeah.
There it is. Bartosz also made a very kind offer that you said people who are attending this call might get early access to Cube as well. Is that right?
Yes. So if you're here, feel free to DM me, maybe the POAP that you got at the end. I'm happy to add you.
Fantastic. You can also scan this QR code. It'll send out a little tweet pre-written for folks. Srijani has very thoughtfully put the link into the chat as well. If you just click that and tweet it out so we know that you were here, get that early access to Cube, be the first to feel those microsecond dynamics. There's a bunch of other sick features. I wish we could see it here. You will see it soon enough. Bartosz, thanks for coming out. And shout out to the dads. This is a call filled with dads right now, which I very much appreciate.
Thanks.
Cool, buddy. All right, next up, we're going to go over to, I think, one of the least appreciated projects right now on Solana, if I'm being honest. I don't hear nearly enough about these next folks here, but they have been one of the top NFT projects for a little while. They have some great concept art, and they are just staying busy shipping. So please drop a little banana in the chat for our friend Juice from The Heist. Juice, are you with us?
Gosh, what's up, brother? Yep, I'm here reporting live from the West Coast, Best Coast. We're in the USA. Thank you for the warm introduction. Yeah, 6 a.m., baby.
Love it.
Yeah, this is my favorite time of the day, getting up before the sun. So really quick, I've never been able to share this story before, which is kind of cool, having the context and the platform to do so today. But about 2 years ago, almost to the day, I was working for an institutional crypto asset manager, and I produced a podcast with Anatoly. And on that podcast, we were just chopping it up. There was some game on Ethereum that had like 20,000 transactions go off at once, and it absolutely nuked the chain. And we just talked about how, the value prop of Solana as far as gaming goes. And he's like, yeah, where we're headed, 20,000 transactions will be a blip on the chain. And I kept that with me. And then fast forward about 3 months from there, my two partners who I just met through NFTs and through Twitter, we knew that we wanted to build something in the gaming space, being avid gamers ourselves, and kind of just saw where the puck was going with this GameFi narrative, That being, blockchain games that offer tokenized incentives to players while enabling players as owners as opposed to just like players as consumers, where all the value gets passed to the developers. So, we saw where this puck is going, and we did our research. We kind of saw that a lot of projects were launching these AAA style games, aiming to be the next World of Warcraft or the Diablo. And we said, why don't we come in and try and appeal to this audience that's more geared towards idle gaming, where, we found that idle games, like 5 to 6 minutes max, we saw there was a huge crossover between crypto degens, for lack of a better term, and gaming. A lot of them had gaming backgrounds, but a ton of them were also just building and busy, whether it was between projects on chain or protocols or just a 9-to-5 job. So we said, let's see if we can get some product market fit here. So we released our first game in December of 2021. That was called The Remnants. It was one of the first games available. I believe it was the first game available on Phantom Mobile when that launched. We had great success with that. It was kind of like the building blocks. And then fast forward to April of this year, we launched The Heist, which has seen great success so far. By the numbers, we've had just around 1,500 daily active players and users per day. We've seen about $6 million in token value reinvested back into the game and things like cosmetics, the skilling of the characters, just like upgrades, new NFTs that are available in the game. So we kind of just built season 1, which is what you've seen for the last 3 months, as, I guess, for, again, just lack of a better term, like these building blocks of getting people familiar with just like, sending the chimps and gorillas out on their missions and earning the SBL tokens. And for those who haven't played a game before, it's like getting them familiar with the rewards and this like play to own as opposed to play to consume style of game. So yeah, just like we're the vision, we're launching season 2 here in the next week or so. So this was pretty good timing. Season 2 is really where we have our go to mass market kind of vision, where, we'll get a little bit of capital from just like the NFT sales, which allow us to hire on some new devs, particularly on the mobile side of things, where we stand up a mobile app. And then just marketing too. I think, I know we've touched on it a bunch here between all the projects, but we've kind of tapped out Twitter. So, we're looking to explore what else is out there. If it's TikTok, if it's paid ads, but, gathering a little bit of assets allows us to explore those other avenues as well. And, the challenge that we all have is just bringing in as many users as possible. I think gaming is kind of unique in that it's a low-hanging fruit for blockchain adoption. And I truly do believe, as well as, the team, Solana is home for us. I do believe it's going to be the de facto gaming chain. So we're trying to pin ourselves down as the idle gaming studio of blockchain on Solana.
Fantastic, folks. If you have not checked them out yet, you got to check them out now. A lot of big things coming. There are some requests in the chat for whitelist spots. I don't know if Juice, I'll just put you on the spot right now.
Of course. So whitelist is tapped out. What we do have is we're going to have a public mint raffle, unlike anything Solana has seen, which will be on brand with our game. It'll be an RNG based raffle. What that means is you could buy a ticket, and typically, you win a raffle, you win one NFT. We're doing it where, you'll roll basically your ticket and you can win multiple NFTs with a single ticket. The tickets will be uncapped. It will be non-refundable, but, the appeal is, hey, you can buy one ticket and win, 10 NFTs, which is
pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Juice, thanks so much for coming on. I did not realize until this moment, the chat has reminded me that you do resemble Ben Affleck a little bit. So we got Chris Osborne, who looks like Ryan Gosling. We have, people, we got a lot of good looking famous folks on these calls, and appreciate you making the time so early in the morning, Juice. We'll catch up with you very soon. I know that we are running a little low on time, so very quickly, let me just say that we have some upcoming airdrops on Solana. Here they are. Go get some B-Soul, stake your soul with Soul Blaze for the airdrop there. Margin, you already know. Cypher, you got to just use these products and you might be eligible for an airdrop. The cash token, that's an interesting one. I don't really know what's going on over there, but in any case, let's go now to the last but far from the least, one of the most exciting guests that we've had here in a little bit. I was first introduced to this project by the man with the mustache himself. And today I'm thrilled to say that we have Omid here, one of the co-founders of Ultimate. Not only are they a great DeFi app, not only did they launch the DApp browser you're about to hear, they're also starting an actual regulated bank in Germany, which is just like the most gigabrain of the gigabrain stuff. Drop a little GM in the chat for Omid here, folks, as he tells us what Ultimate has been up to. Omid, how you doing?
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure, my friend. So I know you guys have been busy over the last 30 days. Can you tell the folks a little bit about what you've been building and what to expect next?
Of course. I mean, absolutely. So I'm just quickly kind of like gonna talk about like what Ultimate is. Ultimate is a self-custodial mobile wallet for Solana. It's natively built for iOS and Android to provide a smooth experience. We have a Saga build on Saga App Store, which supports seed vaults that you can try out. Some distinctive features that we have, you can track any wallet, of course, including your own wallet to try out the app. You can import multiple seed phrases. We build a trading experience with Jupyter that's not just swapping, but you can see real-time candlestick charts, real-time data for all of your tokens. You can see real-time like position statistics like average buying price, realized, unrealized P&L. And we care a lot about accuracy of prices and real-timeness. So you can see your real-time accurate historical portfolio chart in the app. And last week, we just launched our in-app browser for iOS and Android for Solana. It's super snappy experience. Of course, on Android, you can use mobile wallets adapter, which is also a great experience. So yeah, so what have we been working on in the past month? So on the technical side, we've been working on a library called ChainKit, which compiles and links Solana SDK, which is in Rust, to iOS and Android. So we can actually bring new Solana features to our mobile apps quickly. And we've been working on a new NFT experience that I think you're going to love with features like total NFT value. You can list and unlist on Tensor natively from the app. And we actually have Token 22 support, Token 2022, which we haven't announced it, but you can use it. It's out there. Please try it out.
Token 22, a lot of fun. Shout out to the Bonk Earn folks, Gnome and the gang, who I know are pushing that forward. I gotta say, folks, the wallet is super snappy. It just works so well. The DApp browser, I think, is fantastic and just makes life a lot easier. If you don't have a Saga yet, it's a great place to go to explore all of crypto, including earn.superteam.fun, where you will find a massive Twitter thread bounty sponsored by the fine folks at Ultimate. I think 5 prizes of $300 each for writing a killer Twitter thread, which is pretty incredible.
We also have a Saga giveaway, which there's one more day left that you can partake and win a Saga. Just check out Ultimate app on Twitter and you'll see the giveaway.
This is late breaking news, folks, here. I was not even aware that there was still time left on this. You get a full-on Saga. That's an expensive piece of hardware. So many prizes, so little time, says Amelia in the chat. That is right. Shout out to Ultimate. Go check them out. They are great. And then DM Omid if you have ideas on things that they can implement and improve. Omid, thank you so much for coming out, my friend. I'll see you at the Berlin Hacker House, I'm sure. All right, folks. To start to round out the call, we're almost done. Just give me 2 or 3 more minutes. I did want to shout out some work to earn opportunities. As you know, this call is about people who build, about who create real value, not just about the people who can invest effectively. So here's the first one. Just mentioned the Ultimate Twitter thread. Become an expert on Ultimate. Write about it. 5 people are each going to get $300 for writing a Twitter thread. This is crazy. Everyone should be doing this because there's a lot to go into with Ultimate as well. MailChimp with compression powered by Underdog, says Tony from Underdog. Shout out to Tony in the chat. All right, next up, MetaTicket is looking for UI designers. So if you're not a dev, but you're a designer or you know one, go to earn.superteam.fun and help them figure out their new asset-based ticketing model. Super fun, super cool. And then as a gentle reminder, if you have a project and you maybe need some more marketing and awareness, maybe you need some talent or a freelance designer or a dev, maybe you want someone to write your docs, maybe you need somebody to do some translations, throw that up on Super Team Earn. We do have a bunch of templates that make that super easy. It's entirely free. That's the other thing. We take no fees for anybody. All up here. It is scientifically guaranteed to fix your sleep cycle. Listen to Will Ferrell, aka Ron Burgundy, and just get up there. Everybody, thank you so much for coming out. It was a pleasure. A big shout out to all of our guests today, Toli, Mert, Brandon from Marinade. We had Bartosz from Cube, Omid from Ultimate Wallet, and Juice from The Heist. The fun doesn't stop here, folks. If you want to join, we have a Telegram group that we've just launched for people of the ecosystem call. Hang out there. We'll be chatting Solana all month long and then giving you updates every time there is a call. The link for that is quickly coming as I rapidly go to my phone and then copy the link and then paste it into the chat. And Srijani beat me to it. Yeah, there it is. If you want to join the Discord or the Telegram group, get involved, meet some other Solana OGs. Have a great time right over here. This is the link. Click on that. We will see you there. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here, everybody.